Kia ora and welcome everyone. I'm going to kick us off with a karakia. Thanks for being here. I noi tātou. Marawa mai te mauri nuku, manawa mai te mauri rangi, o mauri kai o, he mauri te pua, ka pakaru mai te pō, tau mai te mauri, haumi e, hui e, tai ki e. Thank you. And yeah, huge warm welcomes to this lunchtime session. To kick us off, I just wanted to let you know that the series of Pūaha Talks are proudly sponsored by Foundation North. We couldn't do it without them. So we'd like to do a quick poll just to get a sense of who of their grantees are coming along to take advantage. So you might just say a quick yes/no question. Thank you, everyone. You're nice and quick. Appreciate it. We've got a huge wealth of past recordings on our website, as well as some resources all about how to apply for funding, different kinds of skill sets you might need in your organisation, like evaluation, grant writing. I'm just going to end that poll. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. So yeah, I'll pop through a little link after the session in case there's something else you want to learn about. But today we're here to learn all about AI and just want to hand that straight over to Tyrone so we can get into the good stuff. Thanks, everyone. Kia ora.
Kia ora koutou. Welcome to today's session of Te Pūaha Talks. I'm really excited and glad to be here. Obviously, I should be doing a bit more of a formal introduction, but the way we do it is kind of weaved into our presentation. So what I'm going to do is quickly just share my presentation, and then we'll get into it, okay? So give me a quick second while I get into that, and we'll jump in. But kind of, I guess, a little bit of housekeeping for ourselves. If you've managed to fill out the survey, thank you very much. It has been very helpful, especially for the mahi that we're going to be doing today. But if you haven't, you can pull out your phone, take a photo. It'll take you to a little bit of a survey. You can fill that out as we kind of kōrero. But there's also a URL if you're able to go to that, and we can drop it in the comments as well. And then we're going to be using Arena AI. For those that managed to check it out beforehand, thank you for that. But we'll also talk into it as well. But you will see through our presentation why we've chosen it and why we think it's the best option going forward. But before we get into that, I would love for all of us to kind of introduce yourselves. So I've got a bit of a slide here just to kind of do that. So I just want you to share, firstly, which organization you're representing. Really pull out there where you're from. Also, where are you tuning in from? Be good to know around the motu where you're tuning in from. And then also part of that, what's one thing that scares you about AI? So if you can drop that in the comments, obviously feel free to read what everyone else puts, but we'll start there and then we'll get into our introduction. So thank you very much. We'll wait. We'll give you guys about 30 seconds to do that and then we'll jump into it. Usually I have music blasting and playing, so we're in silent mode today, so hopefully that's helpful. And I am just jumping off quickly so then even I can have a look into these comments and see what we're all putting out there. Cool. You see things coming through. Awesome. Cool. So we got a lot of people. We've got people from Hastings, from Northland. Awesome. We've got people that whakapapa to Brazil and living in Auckland. Love it. Very cool. So we've got people coming from all over the motu. Love it. Very cool. So just looking through, see if we got around some of our fears. Yep, societal intellect. Yep, I hear you. Privacy issues, I hear you. Yes, we're going to be talking to a lot of these concerns today. People saying, still don't know anything about AI. So you've come to the right place today. We're going to be talking about everything from not knowing to maybe having a bit of idea and exploring that today. But before we get into, I guess, the main piece of our kōrero, I'm going to hand it over to Kamilla to introduce herself, and then I'll kind of do a formal introduction. So I'll give it over to you, Kamilla.
Kia ora, Tyrone. Tēnā rā tātou, ko Kamilla Watihira toku ingoa, ko ngā pohi tuku iwi tētahi taha, te rā taha o toku whaia ko rangi tānei me ngā te kaha nunu. E noho anau ki Okutoia Glen Innes, Tāmaki Makaurau, he māma hau ki aku tama tuku roa. Kia ora everyone, my name is Kamilla Watahira. I am a co-founder and head of growth for Second Half. Fun fact, Tyrone and I are not only business partners, but we're also life partners as well. And as mentioned, we have 2 young boys, a 7-year-old Lake and our 3-year-old Wolf. And they were a big reason why we started our kaupapa here as Second Half. In the back end of 2022, OpenAI deployed their first publicly available ChatGPT model. And at that stage, Tyrone was a business consultant, and he was understanding how he could leverage this technology to use with his clients. And he comes home and shares some of these foreign acronyms I have never heard in my life, AI and ChatGPT. In my office and in my background, I also had a reputation to be struggling with technology. I was the one who didn't know how to use Excel or the presentations. That wasn't me. I am also not that person today. Tyrone is our technical lead, although my capability has somewhat adjusted somewhat since, I like to think. But when he told me about AI and he shared with me some of the capabilities that it had in that moment, I became really intrigued to understand more. And when I understood that artificial intelligence is a general purpose and an automation technology, we can kind of liken it to electricity and Wi-Fi, and that within time, it will most likely be embedded across all sectors or industries. It will most likely directly or indirectly impact nearly everyone within our society and as a civilization. My interest really grew to further my understanding as a mama. As a mama to 2 young digital natives, AI natives, the future that we can assume that they will step into is going to be so different to what I experienced or to what my parents experienced. So how as a parent can we be more informed to help inform their path and have a deeper understanding? So Tyrone and I have been on this journey for the last just over 2 years to help educate and integrate artificial intelligence within hapuri and within impact-driven organizations so that they can grow their kete of knowledge and that they can have that agency to decide how do they wish to engage with this technology. So thank you so much for everyone making the time to join today's kōrero. We really look forward to sharing our whakaaro and sharing dialogue with you all to hear what your whakaaro is and what you're seeing within your communities that you serve. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Kamilla. So, kia ora koutou, ko ai au, he uri ahau no horike me rarotonga. Ko Tyrone Tangata Makari toku ingoa. So again, thank you for all joining us today. I could hear my aunties and even my uncles saying, hey boy, make sure you introduce yourself first. So I apologize for not doing that first, but just to get over some of the formalities and then get into who we are. So yeah, Kamilla's obviously shared a little bit around our journey and how we've gotten to this particular piece. For myself, my journey starts all the way back in 2010. I actually studied this at Auckland University of Technology, specifically studying around automation and kind of the challenges or potentially opportunities that might bring to us as society. In terms of my background, my whānau come from backgrounds of, I guess, hard labor intense jobs, where they're doing a lot of the work or mahi with their hands. And I thought about, hey, if this particular technology is coming, what does that really mean for their ability to earn income? So that's why I went to university to kind of understand. At that time, I was thinking, all these robots are going to be here very, very soon. I think that's obviously a bit shifted. We've got some robots that are in factories across the world, but we've actually seen, obviously, the likes of AI become a lot more, I guess, within the stuff that we use and within the tools that we can use, and obviously the impacts and some of the things that are happening there. So yeah, obviously it's now translated into what we're doing now and kind of how this technology, where it can be used, what are those benefits, but also what are those risks. So part of that initial kōrero of introducing yourself is not just sharing who you are and where you're from, but also understanding, what are those things that I guess you have fears around, because I think for a lot of the stuff that we do, especially working within communities, within organizations, this conversation isn't starting with what are the benefits. This conversation is starting with what are those fears. So particularly for our day today, we're not just going to touch around how you can leverage it, but actually hopefully invite you to kind of share where your thoughts are, what you're thinking, and we can't share any real answers probably today, but we can definitely share perspectives. We've been in a lot of rooms, in a lot of spaces, and we're here to kind of hopefully create a safe enough space where we can share what are those fears, what are we seeing, and hopefully ways and solutions we can go forward with that. So in terms of second half, so we help community serving organizations design how work gets done with AI. So you will see that primarily in our conversation on what we do with second half, yes, there is the corridor of AI, but we have kind of found ways in which I guess organizations like yourselves can potentially leverage this. But in order to get into how we can benefit from it, it's actually understanding what this is and where it can go first. So we'll get there in terms of how it works into our mahi, but we really want to make sure that today is around trying to set those foundations and understanding what this technology is first. So that's kind of the corridor or what we do. So yeah, to Pūaha Talks, obviously AI corridor with ourselves today. Now, what we're going to be doing is sharing what AI is, how to use it, and also what's coming. Okay, so that's a big part of it. It's kind of broken up to three things, and you're going to see throughout this whole process. Thank you to all that managed to fill in the survey. So we basically have a ladder to kind of understand where is everyone when they're coming into this conversation or into this hui. It gives us an understanding of how we can share stuff today, but also just kind of makes us manage, where are our comfort levels with this. So just to let everyone know, a lot of us shared that we're unfamiliar or we're kind of practitioners. So some of us shared that we don't know what this technology is, and some of us shared we do have an idea of how to use a tool. So that's really good. So our goal is for all those that are exploring or unfamiliar, as you can see in the table in front, is to get you above the line today. So that's our goal. Put it on us to hopefully get you there. We can't guarantee, but we have seen a lot of people grow when doing this kind of workshop. So our goal, again, is to get you above that line. So like I said, 100% above that line is our goal today. And again, it's an open corridor. So if you have any questions of part-time, usually we run this in a physical space. So everyone's throwing questions at us at all times, and we're having shared conversation across the room. But obviously we've got our chat today, and we don't want to be too chaotic opening up all our, microphones. So if you can, again, drop it in the comments or chat, and Kamilla will kind of let us know what questions are coming up and kind of go from there. And then hopefully today you're 100% happy. Again, can't guarantee that, but we hopefully make this fun and interactive for yourself. And I should say too, our big thing is interaction. So there'll be a few things. I know we've got a breakout room coming. I know for even myself, when I see breakout room, I'm like, oh no, dread. Not because I don't want to talk to anyone, but sometimes I'm just happy to stay behind this camera. But I think when we talk about a technology like AI, it's really great to actually socialize it. So actually understand, what is corridor from other people, what are they doing, what are they looking at, what are they seeing. So hopefully today you're encouraged to jump into a breakout room. We've got a couple of things and then other interactions for us today. So cool, that's us. So firstly, my first question is, who is using AI? I obviously can't hear you if you say yes or no, but if you want to check in the chat who's using AI, if you're using ChatGPT or Claude or anything like that, we'll get into it soon. The truth is you're actually all using AI. Okay, so you might not know that you're using it, and we're actually going to play a bit of a game for all of you guys to see that you're all using AI. Okay, so basically the game goes, or the game's called Have You Interacted or Used This? Now, in terms of the rules, okay, the rules are everyone starts the game by raising their hand. Okay, now you can raise a physical hand if you want to, but luckily we have technology. What we're going to get you to do, so you can see on your Zoom browser, you'll hopefully see down bottom where you can see the react button. So if you can see that react button, you'll be able to click it, not the heart, but click that little triangle that sits next to it, and then you'll be able to raise hand. So anyone's familiar with raising hand, go for it. But for those that just want to know how to do it, go to react down bottom on your screen, click the triangle, and then you should get up this square and then click raise hand. So hopefully we can see everyone's raised hand. Ready to go. Cool. Awesome. Now, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show an image on the screen of something that can be used or can be interacted with, okay? So basically, if it's something that you've used or interacted with, you're going to lower your hand. So you'll see a button where you can see lower hand, okay? And that means you're out of the game, okay? So if you click that button, it means you're out of the game. If it's something that you haven't used, you keep your hand raised. So you don't do any actions. You just leave your hand raised. Okay, does that make sense? Cool. You can see a little bit. Yep, cool. Sweet. Cool. So just to go in again of the rules, if you haven't used it, if you have used it, lower your hand. Again, if you have used it, lower your hand. It means you're out of the game. If you have not used it, you keep your hand raised and you're still in the game. Okay, cool. And I want to say that no one has won this game yet. Now, I don't actually have a prize. Maybe if we get through this game, we'll figure that one out. But yeah, most likely you'll see how this game plays out. Okay, cool. So I'm going to show you something on screen. Again, if you've used it, lower your hand. If you haven't, keep your hand up. So have you used ChatGPT? My gallery is gone, so I don't know actually if people lowered their hands. But again, ChatGPT is obviously AI, and we'll talk into that very shortly. What about Claude? Has anyone used Claude in here? Okay. That's again another AI model. We'll talk about it soon. What about Microsoft Copilot? For those that are on Microsoft 365, you might be using Copilot. Okay, what about Spotify? Anyone using Spotify in here? Okay, and people always ask, how does Spotify use it? So there's actually a really cool feature now called, is it DJX? DJX, especially if you're a premium user. It actually notices the behaviors or songs you choose, especially at what times you choose them, and it tries to recommend them at similar time and in similar fashion. So Spotify uses what they call machine learning, which is a part of AI. I'll explain that a bit more soon, but it also uses AI in there. What about Netflix? People using Netflix? So Netflix, again, for anyone that watches it, you get recommendations. That is something that's using what they call machine learning again to help with those recommendations. And machine learning sits within AI as well. In YouTube, okay, YouTube's another one who's using YouTube. You'll see whether it's your For You page when you jump on or those things on the side that are recommending different videos. Again, that's using machine learning to help you recognize, hey, you've watched all these videos, we can recommend all these other videos as well. What about Google search? People using Google search out there? So Google search obviously uses it, and you'll notice now that it's got a purple response when you are searching. So that purple response that comes under your search is obviously using Google's AI. They mostly use Gemini, but they got a whole suite of different models that they use, but they're using AI specifically. And there's also an AI mode if you have a look, where you can actually jump on that and also talk with AI as well. Then social media, so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, again, same thing, using machine learning to help recommend content or videos that you might want to watch depending on what you watched as well. And then what about this, Burger King? Has anyone gone to a Burger King and conversated with Patty? I'll say I've done a little bit of independent research to have a look at these and see what they do. But you can have a conversation, which is within AI voice. We do have, links and things that we'll provide after this as well around content around this if you haven't managed to get to a Burger King. But again, another case of using AI to kind of do a particular piece of work, and it's at a fast food restaurant. What about this Pack and Save or any of our supermarkets? A lot of them have obviously cameras. So when you go into self-checkout, if you didn't already know, there's cameras around and they take a photo and they actually store those photos in their database. Now, I won't quote how long they keep it for. I know it's not forever, but they do have a database. They keep it and they use AI to kind of check, whether you visit a store and obviously if there are things that have happened. Now, there's actually reports being done on this around kind of the safety on it. So again, this is something that's being used. So AI is being used in this process, but we find that most people don't know how it's been used. So there's actually reports and stuff that I can share. I don't want to make claims. It's actually best to use the report, but just another showcasing of where AI is being used in everyday life. And then GPS. So for any of you that have navigated or traveled anywhere, GPS obviously also uses AI, and again uses machine learning to know what is the best route depending on obviously whether it be by time or whether those traffic concerns are there and recommending a better route. Okay. And the only one I want to show lastly is Employment Hero. I don't know if your organizations are using Employment Hero, but Employment Hero also uses AI specifically for its CV screening. So again, another tool that you might not be using directly, But for people that are applying for jobs, there are tools out there that they're using, or organizations are using AI to screen. Now, again, every time we share this, people have mixed reactions of this. And again, we're quite neutral on the use of this. We just want to share that AI has been used in so many different parts of life. So if you didn't already know, many of us are using AI, but just probably didn't know how much it's actually involved with everyday life. Okay, so now that we've done that, it's probably best. Actually, I'll check with you, Kamilla. Is there any questions on that? Might be of any questions around the last things that we talked about, or should I just keep going through?
We got a lot of really good responses. A couple of surprised emojis, I assume, to understand where AI is showing up in everyday applications that we use. But I think we can crack on ahead.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome. Again, if you got any questions, feel free to chuck them in the comments, and Kamilla will share with us some of the parts that you have. But since we've done that, we'll probably jump into what is artificial intelligence. Okay, so the way that we've defined it, there's actually multiple definitions. There is actually an OECD definition of it, but it's quite a lot. So what we've done is actually pull those definitions and pulled it together to share this. So AI, or artificial intelligence, is technology that allows machines like computers to learn, think, and act like humans. Okay, so anyone that's kind of interacted with any of those tools, or specifically what we call large language models, and we'll talk about them very shortly, it kind of feels like you're having a conversation with a human. And again, just being neutral, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing or bad thing, but we do find that people are like, wow, this is cool, or others go, wow, this is actually a bit freaky. Okay, so again, when we're talking about artificial intelligence, it's something that kind of feels like you're having interactions with another human. But this is actually what AI is. So actually, AI is a really big field. I can't go through everything, but we've tried our best to kind of make it as simple enough for yourself to understand. So again, we've just defined what AI is. So within AI, there's a subset called machine learning. Okay, so basically, machine learning is a type of AI that learns from data. Okay, so from data that improves through experience. Okay, so again, if we kind of think about our social media, if you've ever heard of the term algorithms, okay, that's a form of machine learning, and basically it looks at data, okay, looks through that data, looks through patterns, and then goes, hey, from that data, this is what we could do. Okay, that's me oversimplifying it. There's obviously a lot more that's going on, and very highly recommend to go in and look through that and understand that more if you want to search through that. But obviously don't have all the time today to kind of go through it, but that's what machine learning is. Then deep learning, basically it's a subset of machine learning, and pretty much the same thing, but they've taken inspiration from our brain. So our brain is one complex organ, obviously, and it does some amazing things, and specifically around neural networks. So what some scientists have done is kind of understood how does our brain work and how can we use that to help recognize patterns as well and do things with that. So that's what deep learning is. Okay, so it takes complex patterns from large amounts of data and learns from that. And then we've got generative AI. So you've got that box down the bottom. That's the type of AI that's trained to create the content. Okay, so when we talk about create content, we're talking about text, talking about images, audio, video, all the stuff that you may be seeing online. Okay, I see a lot of organizations using AI to do posters. I don't know if you're seeing all that kind of stuff. There's also text that we create from using something like ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, okay, and all the images and audio that you also see. Okay, so that's what we call generative AI. And then this white circle that you can see right in the middle of deep learning generative AI is what we call large language models, or LLMs. Okay, this is a type of AI that's trained to understand and generate language. Okay, so this is what we think about when we think about ChatGPT, Claude, Google Gemini, all those models that we might be using. Okay, so that's a good segue because these are some of the ones that you might be familiar with. Okay, so we've got OpenAI, ChatGPT. Hands up who's using ChatGPT. Some of you might be using it. Okay, so that's one. Then we've got Google. Google mostly use Gemini. They've actually got a few other things, but Gemini is their kind of main one that they use in terms of their large, well, I wouldn't say it's just a large language model. It's actually a lot more than that, but Gemini is their one that they particularly use. Then we've got Anthropic. Okay, Anthropic have Claude. So people might be familiar with Claude. You might not be. So basically a little bit of history of whakapapa from some of these, and you'll see it if you really want to go into, I guess, the details, that a lot of these newer companies were created because they were part of other ones basically didn't like what they were doing or had other ideas and went and created the other one. So Anthropic, a lot of them were actually at OpenAI and went and created their own one, and they've got Claude. So for those that are deeper in the space of AI, Claude's become one of the, I guess, staples in using it. And yeah, it's got some really cool uses. Then we've got Meta. So we've got Meta, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, your Messenger. You can talk to a family of models that they have, but their specific main one is called Llama that they have, that they use or we can use. And then one that I have here on the far right side is called DeepSeek. Now, DeepSeek is a Chinese-based company, and the reason why we use it, and there's been a few different cases of this, is that this is about 18 to 20 months ago, DeepSeek released a model. And basically you can play with this model and you can play it for free, but their pro free model was benchmarking at the time as the same as some of the OpenAI and Anthropic. So it was benchmarking, basically meaning it was competing with how good they were, and it was free. Now, if you can see the next line around highest paid plan, if you want to use some of these pro models and some of these big tech companies, they actually cost quite a bit. So if you take OpenAI right now, it's around $350. Now, that's give or take. Sometimes it's $340, $350, depending on the currency exchange, but it's quite a lot to actually use their pro models. But we have companies like DeepSeek, and there's actually a lot more. Moonshot is another one that are releasing models that actually are benchmarking. Again, kind of people saying that it's kind of competing with the same as these paid models. Okay, so the reason why we're sharing that is that you might be just familiar with a couple, but we like to give people a bit of perspective. There's actually a lot of companies and a lot of, I guess, different ways to interact with AI. Now, I won't run through the highest plan and all of them, but they obviously change. This is all based on the start of this month. But this is kind of some of the plans that you have to pay to play with their pro models. Okay, so they are quite expensive. Might not be something that you necessarily need to do, but just you having an idea of like, wow, there's actually kind of different, mechanisms to interact with a lot of these companies. Okay, and then on the bottom, that last line, you'll see open models. Now, when we talk about open models, basically they're models that you can download if your hardware is capable enough, where you can actually download a model and put it onto your hardware and interact with it. Okay, so most of these companies are what they call closed models or proprietary models, where you can actually go into the browser like you may have already done, whether it's using ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Claude, and you jump on your browser and you use it. So they actually host it. Okay, so we are using them and their servers and where they're hosting it, and then we have to pay if we want to, or if we want to pay and pay for the other stuff, or use their free models. But for those that are like, actually, I want to control where my data goes, maybe what I do with this, you can actually download some, okay? And we call those open models, okay? So just to give you a bit of a diagram, again, this is a bit of an oversimplification, but what we have down bottom on the left-hand corner of the triangle is what we call closed and proprietary models, okay? These are the ones that are hosted from those companies that we've just shared, and there are others out there. And then we have open models on that far bottom right-hand side, okay? So these are models that we can download if your hardware is capable enough, where you can download it and use it differently. And then why this is a triangle when you've got frontier models is because you can actually have leading models. So whether it's closed models or open models that are frontier models, okay? So that's just an oversimplification, but hopefully sharing you a bit of the world of, these large language models and these other models and what we can use. Now, before I carry on, I just want to kind of ask Kamilla, is there any questions around this before I continue on?
Yeah, there was a great pātai from Paula that spoke into this kōrero around how can we guarantee sovereignty of our own mātauranga unless we have our own data centers and our information is not appropriated. And this is a great, option is what we share second half is how can we really leverage open and locally sourced or ran models that gives us a little bit more transparency of how these systems are trained, and there's a lot more complexity that goes into it. But when pairing with an expert that can really help guide you into training a model, how do we download, like Tyrone mentioned, download the intelligence onto a local hardware, a local server? What's what is comprised in that process is definitely a way that we think we can retain and keep mātauranga, especially all of our data as a taonga, to make sure that that is done with respect, Paula. So hopefully that answers a bit of pātai there.
Yeah, good kōrero. And I think I just want to add to, so obviously, again, I want to stress the oversimplification of the diagrams here, because there is a lot more complexity that does come with this. So like when downloading open models, you can download ones that if you know how big your storage is, and you can download something that's capable, it's quite simple to set up. But if you're thinking about it with your organization, there's a lot more things you want to just consider. What I think about is like governance, like, when we are downloading this on, part of having a hosted model is that they've got all the security around it. So if you're going to download something and use your data locally, what is your security? What is your governance? There's a lot more conversation. So it's not that it's out of the woodworks to be able to do it. It's just, again, if that's something that you're interested in, it's finding people that are, I guess, more experts. And even for ourselves, we don't know everything about AI. We even go to people that actually have more knowledge of, especially if you've got a particular use case, that we can actually get you with the right people to make sure that they can actually help you with whatever you're going through. But cool, I'll keep heading on, and then if you've got any pātai, again, chuck them in the comments and we'll continue to answer where we can. Awesome. Now, the only thing I just wanted to kind of get your attention is that these are some of the open models that exist out there in the universe. Now, there are sites in which you can go to and check these out and download these. But again, you can see some of the familiar companies that we know have released open models that you can use. Again, so the reason why we share this is because we do have a lot of conversation or kōrero with organizations and communities around, I guess, how do we do things different with our data and what can we do? So these are just, again, some signs. Now, just want to say too, with open models, once you get it, because it's something that you can download, you can actually change it, modify it, reuse it in different ways. Okay, so there's, again, a lot more to unpack. Again, only foundations today, but just want to say that if you're really interested, I encourage you to go out and look at open models and just understand the landscape. You don't have to use it, but just really understand what else is out there as well. Okay, so I guess that's that kōrero, what is AI, but I think it's really good that to understand where AI is at is actually we shared why we came up with I'll use the name Second Half in terms of our brand. Okay, so where did the name Second Half come from? So it actually came from the chessboard and rice parable. So for those that know about it, hopefully I'm telling the myth and legend right. If I'm not, you can tell me in the comments or chat. Okay, so basically the myth or legend goes that the inventor of chess challenged the emperor or king at a game and said, hey, if I beat you at my game, you have to give me a reward. The king or emperor at the time said, hey, okay, what's the reward? They're obviously dealing in grains of rice. So he said, is it 100 grains of rice, 10,000 grains of rice? What do you want? And the inventor of chess said, no, I want you to start with 1 grain of rice and double it for each square on the chessboard. So as you can see in the image, you've got 1 in the bottom left, then it doubles to 2, doubles to 4, etc., etc. Now, we've done the maths for you, so you can actually look at the top left and see kind of how it doubles, right? So you can see it goes all the way to the bottom right-hand corner, okay? So really big number. So 1 grain of rice, doubling it 64 times. If you didn't know how many squares on a chessboard, is 64. Is 9 quintillion, 223 quadrillion, 372 trillion, 36 billion, 854 million, 775,808. And yes, I do practice that to sound smart in front of the rooms, but that's as much as I can count for today. But basically, if you were to put that on a graph, okay, you got grains of rice on one side and you got numbers of squares, and we're to start at 1 and then double it, you will create this. Okay, so for anyone that managed to listen into maths, this is what we call an exponential curve. Okay, and there is evidence that AI is too developing at a similar rate. Okay, so we're not just going to make that without actually showing some content. So this is a graph of compute power that is used to basically train some of these models and what's happened over these years. Okay, so if you go all the way back, okay, you can see on the bottom left, you can see a thesis. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But there's actually a machine learning project that goes all the way back to 1952 or 53. I always forget that number. But basically, this AI is not new. It's old. It's been around for long. Just obviously, we've grown our ability to in terms of compute power and being able to do stuff over these years. So yeah, it goes all the way back to the 1950s, but you may see in this top right-hand corner some more familiar names that we were talking about before. So you can see GPT, you can see Llama, you can see Claude, you can see Gemini, okay? But what can you also see happening in the graph? Okay, you might say first that I can see a lot of dots happening in the far right hand side, and you'll be correct because there's obviously been a lot of attention and a lot more happening in the AI space and developing these models. But what's also happening in this graph is it's starting to curve. Okay, now this goes to 2025. I actually need to kind of check this and see if there's an updated one around 2026, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more proliferation and curve. So I want to also show this. So this is been done by a research company in the States called METR. And basically what they've been researching is whether models can first complete a task reliably over a certain amount of time. Okay, so you'll see on the left-hand side of this graph, time, okay? So that's the time it can do a particular task. And in this particular one is, can it do it 50% of the 50% of the time right? Okay, so they measured how long does it take. Now this has been, if I'm correct, around 2019, I think when it first started, or started 2020, they started measuring GPT. So these were like before we knew about it. We knew about 3.5. That's when the release of the public. So that was around 2022. Okay, but they've been researching this for a while, and if you look in the graph, you can see the same thing happening. It's starting to curve as well. Okay, so you've even got some of these Claude models. So you can see Claude Opus 4.6 is quite out there, but you may see on the top right also one that they said that they can't measure it reliably. So this is Claude Mythos. For those that have been kind of in the space around AI, it's created a bit of a stir. So Anthropic kind of held back Claude Mythos for a while because they said it's a security concern, really. So they actually gave it up to a lot of big tech companies and said, hey, can you understand what this thing does, where you can see challenges? And this kind of research company obviously got access first and were able to kind of measure it. And they said that they can't accurately measure because it was showing that it could do it for a longer time than they could actually evaluate. So again, these things are evolving so quickly, and it's the reason why we think people should know about this. And just again, prove it that this is another graph, but looking at 80% of the time. And again, you can see the same type of curve happening. Now, I don't want to make the claim that this is going exponential. We are showing graphs. We're just saying it's developing at a similar rate, okay? And we just got some graphs to show you that. So the reason why we called ourselves second half is because we're in the second half of this development, and we believe that we as society, more of us should actually understand and know what this technology is so we can make better decisions around where this goes. So obviously, Kamilla's talked about it and we shared it at the start that this technology is pervasive, that it's going to be in many things, and you may have experienced that, oh man, some of these tools that I'm using, I didn't even know it had AI in it. So we believe that people should know about this and be informed. So then if things do come up, whether that be things at a policy level in government, to things in our organization, to things that are happening in community, we have a bit more knowledge to make decisions around. So hopefully that's been helpful in an interesting story of how we got our name. Okay, before I get on with this again, Kamilla, any questions, any parts coming up that we can talk into?
We're good. We can continue.
AI is developing rapidly and will only continue to evolve, okay? So for us, it's not just about how do we keep up, it's about how do we actually shape the future that we want to live in. Now, from our perspective, we believe that the way you can do this is actually by playing, okay? By having a go and trialing it, okay? And seeing what it can do and also seeing what it can't do. Okay, so that's also a part of it. But before getting into how we play with it, so we're going to be using Arena AI very shortly, or whatever model you want to use. It's actually understanding where have we come from and why that kind of understanding can help us know how we can play with AI going forward. Okay, so the way we like to break it down is actually looking at the information age. Okay, so people would argue that information goes all the way back to, I guess, hieroglyphics and being on caves. So I would say I won't challenge you on that. We've been sharing information for a longest time, but I guess where we kind of map it back to is the newspaper. Okay, so the printing press and kind of the releasing newspaper and all that kind of jazz. So at that time, being able to kind of have content that was, or information that was on, I guess, paper. They gave us the ability to write and read information. Okay, so we could actually read information. Then the radio came along. Okay, the radio came along and gave us the ability to listen to information. Okay, being passed. Then the phone came along. It's so funny when we do this workshops. We do different workshops with young people rangatahi, and the first thing they think of about when we think about phone, they think about smartphone. And we have to remind them and say, hey, actually, before the smartphone, there was this device you had. We had a circle on it, and you had to dial it back. For myself, born in the 90s, I used to have a phone at home. Our landline used to have a button where you could click Nana's number, and it just dials Nana's, and we pick it up. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the phone. We're talking about that time. Okay, that gave us the ability to connect and share information in that way. Okay, and then we had the TV come along. Obviously, you'd be watching through some type of screen. That gave us the ability to watch something. Okay, and watch information. Then the computer came along. That actually gave us the ability to process information, especially before the internet. Okay, we could do make a file, put it in a folder, and process it and put it somewhere. Okay, so it gave us the ability to process information. Then the internet came along. Okay, it gave us the ability to explore the information, whether that be in our own city, our own country, or across the world. And then more recently, we've been in kind of the smartphone era, where we can share information in so many different ways. Okay, so that's kind of been the age of, or the information age, really. But when we're talking about AI, okay, when we're talking about how we can use AI, some of you may be using it to search, which is very possible with this as well. So that's kind of, again, within the internet, smartphone era. But when we think about AI, it's actually, think about how you can solve something. Okay, so when you use AI, think about what is a problem, what is something that I can solve, and you will see that this is where it works best. Okay, so basically give AI a problem to solve, and this is where we can see what it can do. Okay, now thank you all for those that entered into our survey, because we actually got to see some of those problems, and we kind of condensed them into these four, as much as we could pull them all together. So we heard conversations around time management and the challenges with, the work that you may be doing as an organization and trying to, I guess, get through many of it and managing that time. We also heard things around note taking, so being able to take notes, and I'm sure trying to transfer it to a computer or a device can be challenging. We heard a lot around funding applications and the challenges that come from doing funding applications. I do know, and I know it started last week, just going to put a little bit of a plug there because I know they're doing some cool work. Fundsorter have got an 8-week AI program that they're doing. So if you want to even go more deeply around funding applications, all that, haven't done it, but I know one or two people that are a part of that space, and if you want to go deeper, there's that. But we'll do some stuff today as well. And then we've also got a lot around work capacity. It sounds like a lot of you within your organization's got a lot of mahi need to do, but there's only so many of you. So what we're going to do is actually walk into some of these problems and see where AI can help us today. Okay, and the way that we're going to do it, we're going to be using Arena AI. And the reason why we're going to be using Arena AI is because it's a platform where you can actually look at different large language models. Okay, so all those models that we talked about at the start, instead of going on one and going, is this one better than this one? The cool thing with using Arena AI is that we can actually look at two at the same time when we ask it a question. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that today. Now, I will preface this and say, if you don't want to, because part of it might ask you to sign up. Now, the sign up process is no linear process. Sometimes it just allows you to interact with it, and then you can go forward. But sometimes it does ask you to sign up. So we're not saying you should or that you have to do that. If you've got a large language model like ChatGPT or Copilot or something that's on your computer and you're happy to use that and don't want to log into this, you're more than welcome to. Okay, so again, we believe in agency. Don't feel forced to I have to use that. We're just using this primarily is because you can compare and you can make the judgment of which models you think are better than others. Okay, so for those that are going on Arena AI, I'll kind of share how we jump on that soon. But these are some of the latest models that you can actually interact with. Again, I will have the screen up, or you guys will see shortly how you can look at it. But basically, you can go through different ones and have a go. Okay. Now, to set ourselves up to make sure that we have a really good experience, because I'm really acknowledging that we are on devices ourselves. Some of us might be on the phone, so what I'm sharing on the phone might not work. But for those that are sitting at laptops or computers, what we're going to look at is splitting our screen first. Okay, so we're going to set ourselves up first before we get into it. So what I mean by that is I'm going to quickly share my screen. I'm going to share my whole entire screen. Now, again, I apologize. I'm using a very large widescreen, so if this looks really weird, I apologize for that. So as you can see, I've got mine split. So I'm just going to minimize this, pull this up, and I'm just going to share with it so everyone knows how to do this if you're on your laptop or desktop. So up top, you will see your taskbar or tab bar for whether you're in your browser or you might be in Zoom. So you're not going to click on your tab, you're going to find the empty space. Now, what I want you to do is click it, hold it, and you're going to pull it down. Okay, so you hopefully see something like I've done. And what we're going to do is push it all the way to a side. I'll push it to the side. One side on the right hand side, and you'll see something pop up like this. It might be gray in yours, and then you're going to let go. Okay, and then that's how you put it on one side of your screen. Okay, so I'm gonna give everyone 30 seconds. If you've got any questions, chuck it into the comment or chat. We'll get ourselves set up. But what we're trying to do is put your Zoom recording on one side and then put Arena AI on the other side. Okay, so you can watch us as you're also interacting. Okay, so we can get that. Okay, cool. I'll let you have a go. If you got there, awesome. If you haven't got there, feel free to write in the comments and we'll try and sort out our tech first and then we'll get into it. Okay, cool. Awesome. So hopefully, I don't see anything in the chat asking for any tech help. So hopefully we're all there. So again, you should have Zoom on one side so you can see me, and then you should have your Arena AI on one side so you can actually interact with it. Okay. So hopefully you're seeing something like this in front of you right now. And if you've ever interacted with a model, a platform, whether that be ChatGPT, Google, Gemini, again, Anthropic Claude, they all kind of look similar. Okay, so the task we're going to do is that you can use whichever one. Okay, they can go across platforms, but we're going to compare them. So if you can see my screen, you'll see battle mode up top. I want you to click that. Okay, so click battle mode again on your phone. It should be at your top left. And within battle mode, I want you to go to side by side. Okay, so click side by side. And then you should see something that's happening with mine right now. We can see two drop downs have popped out as well. Okay, so click one of those drop downs. You'll be able to see that there's other models you can have a look at. Okay, so you can scroll down and have a look at them. Again, you see GPT, you can see Gemini, you can see Claude. Okay, so you can pick whatever you want, even if you want to search them. So you might want to just search Gemini. Okay, and you can pick them. So there's no rule around which one you want to pick. Just pick two different ones. So click, maybe I want to do Gemini 3.1 preview on this one. Then I'm going to go on to the other drop down and click GPT 5.5. Okay, so I'll give you about 20-30 seconds to go through that, find ones. Again, you can come back and change it. So just find ones that you're happy to do now, and then we'll go from there. Awesome, cool. Again, pop your tech challenges in there and we'll try and help you in the chat while we're also doing this. Awesome. Which Claude version is best to use? That's a good corridor. I think the current one is Sonnet 5 is the best one in here. Or Sonnet, yeah, Sonnet 5 High. Okay, so if you want to use Sonnet 5 High, that's the that's the one that I know is quite up there. It's changed. So if you actually go use Claude itself, they've just released Opus 5, which is probably the better one, or Fable 5, which you can't access on here as well. So hopefully that helps. I've not managed to screen. Cool, Joanne will try and help you as we do this, and we'll support you as we go through. Apologies. I wish I could be there and help you with your laptop. Okay, but for everyone else, I just get you to continue, and then I'll try to support yourself, Joanne. Is that what I want you to do is put a problem in here. Now, I want to preface and say this is a benchmarking research platform. So again, for these, don't put any sensitive information, stuff that you don't want to put in. Keep it general, just for the exercises. And I probably should say that if you're using any type of platform, be really smart around what you put into these platforms. If you didn't already know, there's ways where they actually train their models on what you put in. I can show you very shortly of how you can turn that off if you wanted to use your own platform. So again, just when using this, make sure put in stuff that you're comfortable with first, and dealing with. Okay, so for me, my suggestion is put in any problem and ask it to solve it. So I'll say my, I guess, particular problem. Like Kamilla said, we have parents of two. We're having experiences where, you know, our child right now is not wanting to listen to mum and dad. So maybe a problem that I could put in is that I am currently trying to figure out how I can communicate better with our child. Okay, that's as simple as a problem. So it could be something that happened last night, something that happened this morning, something that's happened over time. Again, put in what you're comfortable with. We're not encouraging anyone to put in any information that they don't want to, and then just submit it. So once you've prompted that in, I've just written it in my own language. Then you click the arrow on the right-hand side and send it away. Okay, you might find it might ask you to sign in, it might not. Okay, so that's your choice. So go for it, and then I'll try and help those that are in our comments to do things as well. See, it's asking me to sign in. I'm signing in, so I'm just going to jump off share screen, sign in, and then I'll come back again. So it's given me 2. So as you can see, it's got Claude Sonnet 5 on one side, one of the models that I chose. So that was cool, gave some stuff. And then I got ChatGPT on the other side. And you can see there's really different responses, a lot more bullet points on one, different titles. Okay, so it'll be cool. Love to hear from the room. And if you're brave enough, I'd love to hear from one of you that'd love to jump on the mic and share how you found it. You don't have to share your problem. I would love to just hear if you found, the differences in responses, one was better than the other, or kapa, you can also put it in the comments as well. So yeah, anyone's free to share. I feel like I'm talking a lot, so I just want to hear someone else's voice than mine. Paula, it asks us to enter my Google email. Can I bypass this? Unfortunately, if it's asking you can't bypass this, you will have to log in. So apologies for that if that's going to be a prevention. So you're more than likely to say opt out and say, I don't want to use Arena AI, but more than welcome to use Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT, all these things that we'll be sharing. We'll work on that, just you won't get 2 responses. And for those maybe asking question, man, I don't know what the other ones are. So again, I'll just type it in so you can go ChatGPT if that's your preferred option. Okay, and then you can go there. Okay, so it's just simply Gemini. I think it's Gemini. I think it's actually Gemini.google. Yep. What are you doing, Tyrone? Okay, so Gemini, Google, and then if you want to, you can also use Claude.ai. Okay, so they all have free versions which you can use. You can do the same prompts that we're doing, but again, if you want to compare, you can use Arena to do that. I didn't get a response from Arena. Is that right? Got one from 2 engines though. Yeah, that should be it. So hopefully you've seen something like me. That should be the responses. If not, sometimes when people sign in, it actually deletes what they wrote again. So you might get that as well. So just letting you know. There was cool. I asked what was the best way to use coffee grounds in my garden. Cool. Awesome example. Awesome, Michelle. Awesome using. So yeah, again, this platform you can compare. We do get a lot of conversation around which one's better. Is Claude better than ChatGPT? Is this one better than that? For myself, I think it always comes back to preference. Like, yes, we can argue and articulate which one's better, and it's definitely there are some, I guess, better ones. But like I said in the start, these things are evolving. So what usually happens is that one company releases a better one, then another company releases a better one. It's constantly changing. Okay, so to give you a better one actually depends on the time, the time we're talking, because it always changes. But you can use something like Arena AI to compare, then you can make your decision from there. Emily, it's interesting how in your example the info is not too different, but the response is structured very differently. Claude more structured, summarized. Yeah, exactly, right? So it's a lot of similar information, but the way they structure it, right? So they're obviously training their model to do it in a particular way, and that's the result of that. Lisa, it's good, but when you copy and paste the answers into Word, it loses all the formatting. Yes, totally. That is annoying. We are going to talk into something very soon around when we do copy, what we should be doing. But what you can do is, it doesn't always work all the time. So sometimes you go Control C to just copy and then Control V to paste. One thing that a lot of these platforms do, so not AI, just any platform in general, is that if you want to copy the formatting of the tool that you're going into, let's say Word or Doc, you actually have to go Command Control Shift V or Control C, Control Shift V. Okay, so that's just a little hack. Doesn't work all the time, but it can help with some of the formatting challenges when you're going for them as well. Okay. And we've got Emily. I use Gemini 3.1, ChatGPT 5.5. God is more personal in how it replies, like having a conversation with a friendly counselor. Yep, that's true, right? So you're going to see different responses and how you may interact with that. So hopefully you all got the chance to actually have a go and see what it can do. I did see a question come up. I will come back to that. What I want to talk into, though, is what we call practicing discernment. Okay, now what is practicing discernment? You might be familiar with the term, but it's basically developing the ability to tell the difference between what is true, what is false, okay, what is wise, what is unwise, and what is helpful and harmful, okay, and then acting in line with that. So one of the things you will notice, for those that already use these tools, is that sometimes it doesn't get it right, okay. And that can be for many reasons. One of the most known reasons is what they call hallucinating, okay, where basically it tries to guess. Because you've given it a question, it doesn't know the answer, so it tries to guess. So that what it's trying to do there is, and most of these models have been trained in that way, although there's been reports around how they're changing how it does it, but they train to make sure your experience is great, not necessarily get all the answers right. Okay, so reason why we talk about practicing discernment is that all these tools are doing is that they're giving a response, not the truth all the time. Okay, then people are like, why should we use it? Now, there's many reasons why we can do that. It's like talking to another person. They don't necessarily have to give you the right answer, but they can give you some perspectives and things that you can go, oh, actually, I can think differently because of those perspectives. Okay, so really important. We talk about practicing discernment. And I'll give a bit of details to some research that's come out. So there's actually research out there that if you use these tools passively, so this is just purely copy and pasting, not changing it, purely taking it for what it is. There's actually a lot of evidence talking about actually how we're losing our ability to critically engage. Okay, so that's one of the things that come up a lot around. Are we getting? I will put quotations here, and sorry if I'm expressing this word like this, but dumber. Are we getting dumber by using AI tools? And there's actually research saying that we are losing our ability to critically engage. Okay, and that's because basically we're giving our power to these tools to say they're giving us the answer, they know what's right, when we've just kind of explained that they don't always get it right. Okay, so that is true, and that is a question that's coming out, and there is evidence that actually supports that. Okay, so again, we're not trying to go hide that. When using these tools, make sure we don't use it passively. However, there's also evidence that is growing around if we use these tools actively. Okay, so if we don't just copy and paste, we actually make sure we make those changes. We actually apply ourselves to what their responses are and actually kind of change it. We question it. We actually say, no, that's not right. This is what it should be. Okay, so we are active with these tools. There's evidence to show that we actually improve our ability to not just critically engage, but also critically think. Okay, so again, there are things that within this field of AI that we should be mindful around how these companies are, what they're doing with these tools and all of that. There's definitely a big one, but also we got to consider our practice. Okay, how are we using these tools? Are we using these passively, where we're just trying to get the answers and let it do its thing, or are we being active with these tools? And just our encouragement is to be active with these tools. Okay, so all the prompts, all the things that we're going to do going forward, just making sure that when you're using them, think this is wrong, say it's wrong. Hey, you got this wrong. This isn't right. Okay. Or, hey, this is good, but I wanted to think about this. Okay. So just putting that out there. Before we go on, Kamilla, any questions?
Hold on. Yeah, we had a really good partai from Paula. Which AI would you recommend for specific organizational tasks, i.e. research, grant writing, in comparison to project planning and workflow refinement? And there's a couple of things that we openly share to consider is perhaps first asking your employer what is their digital system that's preferred and that's encouraged to use. This might be the Google Digital Suite or the Microsoft Digital Suite. So you may already have some parameters put in place by your workplace, but then also understanding what your preference is. Arena AI is quite a good tool to use to understand the differences between models. That was really cool coming up in the chats to hear from people. But then Tyrone will also share a really cool feature within Arena AI is how they then create their ladder board, having visibility over which type of task has, based off the community's use of Arena AI, has ranked at a certain level of effectiveness. And that can maybe help you guide your way around using a tool.
Just going to what Kamilla shared, for those that are using Arena AI, is that on the side here, you've got a sidebar. So if you click the top one, it will kind of pull it out. You'll see new chat, which is always good to use if you especially want to start something fresh and new and not use the context of your previous chat. But there's also a leaderboard. Okay, so you can actually click into that leaderboard. So you might want to do it now or come back to this later. We can actually look at what they believe, what the community that have used Arena AI believe which one's better. Okay, so to that conversation, which one's best for which, people have actually voted. So you might see when you give your response, there's like a is A better than B or B better than A? All those polling actually helps them kind of show which ones are doing best. So again, don't have time for that all today to kind of go through, but you can actually have a look and see what other people are saying is better than others. And it's a pretty cool exercise. So awesome. So we're going to move on to our next exercise. I am recognizing time, and I'll be honest, we've got a bit to go through. So we'll try our best to get through as much practical exercises and then get into some other kōrero. Okay. So our next exercise that we like to share, and it sounds like many of you are doing it, but I think it's really important to start there because it gives a base of knowledge for us to expand on. So hands up for those that are using it to help with communication, whether that be through helping with your emails, helping with your texts, helping with maybe social media content. Yep, we've got a few of us. Awesome. Okay. So you can definitely use it because this is a large language model, obviously generates language. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you an activity. Again, I'm not encouraging you to do it like this, but I'm showing you something and kind of hopefully open your eyes around where you can go with this. Okay. So if you can follow my prompt, I want you to write, can you reply to this? Okay, so that's the prompt that you're going to enter in, and then what you're going to do at the end of that is put a colon, so the 2 dots. So can you reply to this, and put 2 dots. Now again, don't put in anything that you don't want to, but what you can do is put in a message that you may have from someone. Again, be really mindful of what we're sharing, and you can actually get it to reply. Now for this, I'm not going to put in something that I've got a message from. I'm just going to do a fake email. Okay, so in my particular case, I'm going to go, hey Tyrone, you don't have to copy this. You are very handsome. Okay, get this all the time. Everyone, no, I don't get this at all. But I'm going to say Kamilla said this to me today. Okay. So you can put in whatever email. You can be something that you don't mind putting in. Again, be mindful, but put in something fake, fictitious, fake if you want to as well, like I have, and then send it away. Okay. So I didn't pick the models. We're in battle mode, so it's going to actually guess models. But again, you can see that it can actually pick up that and make those changes. Okay, so I want you to start there. Then I'm going to build on top of that. Okay, so do that one. So can you reply to this? Put in a text, put in an email, or write one up, and then hopefully you get a response. Now I'm just saying both are good. So if you happen to do what I did and was in battle mode instead of being able to compare, you can also click an option in terms of answers, and then it will tell me what those were. So it used Claude Opus 4.7 against Mistral, okay, which is another model. Okay, so that's what I got. So hopefully you were able to do that. And then what I want you to say is, can you sound like this? Okay, so we've done a reply, but if you saw your response, you'd be like, oh, that's so great. But all it does is mirror my response. So what you can do is say, can you sound like this? Okay. Now, if you're of interest, you can put in another text or email that you've done to someone else and then put that in, because what it tries to do is actually look at how you're written and try to understand your patterns. Again, coming back to your AI, tries to understand how would you have written, and then it tries to make a response. But in this particular case, what I'm going to do is, can you sound, and I'll delete the like this, can you sound professional? Okay, so we can put in different tones, different styles, different ways that we can respond. So you can put anything. I just said, can you be professional? You can also delete that and say, can you be informal? Okay, maybe you want to sound more loving. I don't know. Okay, so what I want you to do is hopefully, can you reply this? But then I want you to follow it up and say, can you sound informal, sound loving, whatever that may be. Okay, I'm just putting that as my one. And then it's going to use 2 different ones in my case. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this is not just to help with your communication, is that if you really think about it, and like we shared around kind of recognizing patterns, there's multiple ways to use this for different types of language. So it's not just to be something that can reply to an email. You can actually change and stretch and expand what they may look like. So when you think about AI, you think about it, how to solve something, really think about how it can stretch, how it can do different things with it. Whole point of these prompts and these things we're giving you is not just to do the particular prompt, it's to think, what can I do with this? What can I do with this knowledge and kind of transform different things? Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, apologize, but just really you can do different things with these tools and see where they go. Okay, obviously within reason and making sure that's responsible. So as you can see, you've got responses. One gave even some emojis and love hearts. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a meta or something like that. And then you can see something that's a bit more straightforward. So I'm going to just say both are good. Queen. Okay. got that one wrong. So the other one was using Meta. See, so I totally thought one would be one, and actually the other one was using Meta. So again, these are things that you can do. So hopefully you got something out of that, so you can use it for any form of communication, and go from there. So I see a question around, what is Assistant A and Assistant B? Are they two tools I choose at the start? So this is my bad. I didn't click side by side. So if you click battle mode, basically it does two anonymous models, okay? And then it does it, and then it tells you, once you voted, what those chosen ones were, okay? So again, be smart, be safe, be responsible in using this, but again, these tools can stretch and do things if you want it to as well, okay? So cool, that is just one thing that we're going to do today. Another thing we're going to do is a new chat. So if you go to the top left-hand corner, I want everyone to click new chat, because we're going to use a totally new chat. So start fresh, and we're going to do stuff around planning, okay? Hands up who's done anything to help with planning when using an AI tool. Got a few of us who are using planning. I see a few hands up. Awesome, cool. So we've got a few people that have a bit of knowledge around this. So for those that don't, what we can do is also get it to create plans, okay? So this could be life plans, health plans, wealth plans, okay? Now, I want to go through it, and then you're probably asking, how can I do that? How can I answer all that? How does it have all that knowledge? So I'll answer that very shortly, okay? So what we want to do first, to create a plan, we're going to write a problem, then we're going to write a goal, and then we're going to say, create me a plan, okay? So my problem is, I currently, I guess, I currently have injuries, as I do, actually, play sport, and I currently have injuries, especially my ankle. Okay, so that's the problem that I'm going through. Okay, my goal is what I'm putting next, is to play sport again in December. Okay, random, I know, I'm just putting up something that I'm really going through. So again, I started with my problem. Second thing I started with is my goal. And then what I'm going to write is, can you create me a plan? Okay, so you're welcome to put in whatever problem, goal, and create me a plan, whatever you want to do. But do that and then send it away and see what you get back. And what I might do just for this, I might actually do side by side so I can compare them, and then we can see the responses. Okay, so go for it, put a problem in, put a goal, and then get it to create you a plan. And then again, see the differences. Now that there's a very high chance that when you do this, you're going to get a novel back. Okay, every time you put plan in, it gives you a plan. Okay, so like we showed in our previous example, if you're like, I don't want to have a whole novel, you can say, can you make this short? Okay, can you make this in a particular way? Okay, so just with Anna, with your question, on my screen it has two responses, one called Assistant A and one called Assistant B. So basically, you're probably using battle mode at the moment. What you want to do once it gives you a response is click the either A is better, both are good, both are bad, or B is better, and then it will tell you what that assistant is. Oh, Paula, good question. How many AI platforms are there globally? There are a lot. I can't actually answer that. You put it there. There are estimated to be thousands of AI models. Yep. So you put it on Hugging Face platform owned. Yeah, cool. And we actually going to share a little bit of Hugging Face soon as well. Okay. So hopefully you've all been able to do that, create a plan and make it. Usually I get people to kind of speak up and talk about their plan, but we do have a bit to go through. So I'm actually just gonna pace us through this period. But if you've got any questions or any parts, feel free to chuck them into our comment section. Okay. Awesome, cool. So I'm just going to quickly jump back into our presentation. So usually I would talk about how you can fill out an application. So if you didn't already know, is that these models can also look at text or images. So you can actually upload files from your desktop onto these platforms. Okay. Now, again, make sure you're being safe. Make sure, I think for most organizations, if you don't have it already, to have an AI policy around what you can upload and what you can't. Okay, because you want to make sure that you're not giving out any sensitive information, as well as just freely uploading to these platforms. But if you can and are able to, there is a plus button where you can click the plus within your prompting space, and then you're able to upload a document or file. Again, make sure to be safe and responsible in doing that as well. Okay, or follow your organization's guidelines. But what I wanted to share is just quickly, this is a prompting structure. So I should have mentioned that when we are writing into these tools, is they call it prompting. So we're trying to prompt it to do an action or do something. And this is a structure that we share. Now, how we've arrived at the structure is that we've kind of watched a lot of content, listened to so many different people around how to prompt better. And we pulled this together as something that you can take away. So if you want to screenshot it, we will share this as well. Again, this is just a way. It's not the ultimate best way you can do it, but it's just something that you can follow if you wanted to around making sure you have the best prompt. Okay, so again, starting with a problem. So describe the challenge or struggle you're facing with. So if you remember the one that we're doing for plan, I talked about me having injuries, okay, as a problem. Then we define the goal. So for my particular one, I talked about, the wanting to play sport again. Then what you can also add on to that is a role. Okay, you can define a perspective or expertise that you want AI to take. Again, we're not telling it to be it is an expert, because I guess there's a lot of questions around, it's going from different information, how accurate it is. What again I would encourage is that the whole piece of discernment. The point of the role is to make sure that, hey, we know you know a lot of information, but we want you to be a particular thing for this particular case, where we're not defining you as it, because we know you can pull from everything, but just hopefully helping instruct that hey, just look at this particular data sets if there's stuff around what you have to help us with this. Okay, then that's the role. Then context, so provide more context. So if in my particular case around an injury, I could talk about if I've had this injury previously. So if this is not the first time I've hurt my ankle, I've also got a sore calf and sore knee. Okay, so if you can give it more context, that could be very helpful for it to know and to help with what it shares back. And then what you can also do is give it warnings. Okay, so for those that use tools right now, you may find that every time you write now, it shares stuff where you're like, how did it get this? And you might be thinking, man, I talked to it before. I think it's pulled from another chat. So if you didn't already know, when you're using a platform, if you've got other chats that are there, it usually pulls from that. So it could be your chat history, or it could be pulling from your memory. Okay, so your chat history or memory actually can be informing it. Okay, so what you can say as a warning is say, don't look at my other chats. Okay, that could be a warning that you give it to ensure that it might be a more neutral answer. Now, how accurate that is, sometimes I even question that it's not fully accurate. But again, what we're trying to do is give it, again, more instruction, more context to ensure that it does the right thing. Okay, and the other thing is what we can also do is format it. So we can actually, it's long, short, informal, personal, whatever that may be. Okay, so that is a prompting structure that you can follow. Now, I want to keep heading on. I'm also recognizing time. So one thing you can also do is speed up note taking. So one thing that we like to show them, especially in a physical sense, and for those that are like, man, I note take and then I have to transfer this on the computer and do all that. What you can also do is take photos of it. So you can take photos, upload it, and say transcribe. Now, again, making sure that we put in, when we're taking photos, it's nothing sensitive. But let's say you're writing down notes for some educational thing you're watching, you can actually take a photo of it, click the plus button, upload that photo, and then say transcribe, and then it will transcribe it. So again, we won't be showing that today, but just letting you know that those are some things that you can do, especially for those that are expressing the problem around that. There are things that you can do with that, just making sure we're being safe around that as well. One thing you can also do, you can also role play conversations. Now, we saw a lot around funding. Now, I'm going to put my Tyrone head on here. One thing that we've noticed with funding is that there is the application side of things. Okay, so there is applications and making sure that we articulate ourselves well and make sure that we share, the right whakaaro, and what are we doing as an organization to apply for whatever funding, whatever they may be. But there's also the other side, right? And that's the relationship side, and it's how are we building relationships. So not only can you use these tools to write these applications, but you can also use the multimodal capability, so you can actually have conversations with it to role play certain situations. So usually when we're in a physical sense, we usually show that, hey, let's say we've got a particular funder that we're trying to get to. Let's say this particular funder is not necessarily a happy camper, and talks in a certain way. We can actually role play that conversation and get it to talk back to us, and then we can kind of figure out how we can act within those conversations. Okay, so you can do kind of different things with these models now, because the ability to not only upload images but also talk to it. Okay, so again, we won't be doing this right now, but just kind of letting you know that there are other capabilities within these tools that you can do, and I'm going to show you a talking one very soon around what you can do as well. And then another thing that you can also do as well is that you can get real-time support with these tools. So especially if you're using a ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, is that it also has the ability to use the video function. Okay, so not only can you do images, not only can you do audio, but you can also do video. So you can actually pull up a camera, and get the real world, and then you can actually have a conversation asking what's happening, and then it can talk to you as you're doing something. So a really cool activity that we like to show is that, especially for those that are doing presentations, you can share your own screen, or you can use your device and say, hey, you can see my presentation, tell me how I can change this or make something different. Okay, what we have done, I can talk about a real life example that me and Kamilla have done. We had a problem with our sink was leaking water. We are not plumbers by any means. We grabbed out our phone, used an AI model, and said, hey, can you just kind of tell us what's happening? Fortunately, it actually gave us what we needed to do, and we're able to kind of change the pipe out. Basically needed to clean it, put it back in, and actually it worked. It worked. So it showed us that using these can support. However, I tried to do this with a car. We had noises coming from our car. I said what the particular model was, what's happening with the car, like what I think the sound is. It told us all these things, and I had no idea what to do. Okay, so again, I think people get fearful, like, oh man, is this going to take jobs? Like and what else can these things do? Like, yes, there's some examples that we've even seen where it can do stuff, but there is still need for experts. Okay, so again, don't want to see this get real time saying we get rid of all the experts. What it's showing is that there's ability to utilize something like video to potentially ask questions, especially if something that we don't have any understanding. You can ask questions. We might not want to perform, but at least we're more informed around maybe what's going on. Okay, but still, experts are needed. Okay, so where is AI going? Okay, so we are experiencing what they call the rise of AI agents. Okay, so some of you might be familiar, others may not. Okay, so what is an AI agent? So basically, an AI agent is a digital helper that can think, make decisions, and complete tasks on what it knows or what it learns. Okay, so like I said before, we can talk to a model and it can talk back to us. But the difference with an AI agent is that we can talk to it and then it can go perform an action in the real world. Now,
Sup, my bro, how can I help? Got it. I'm sending that email now. One moment while I take care of it. All set. The email zipped off the bin with the subject running late, signed as Tyrone Tangata Makiri. Anything else you want to fire off while I'm in email ninja mode?
so what I did there, apologies if you couldn't hear me, is that I got it to send an email on my behalf. And what I want to do is quickly show you that with revealing my email. It actually sending it. So we'll just, there we go. So this is my actual email that you might be sending. Apologies, it's on my screen that's sideways, but you will see that I sent an email saying, hi Ben, quick heads up, I'm running late, I'll be there late than planned, I'll keep you posted on my ETA, sorry for the inconvenience, thanks for understanding. And you can see the time it was sent. Okay, so when we're talking about agents and what they can do is that they can perform real actions. Now this Ben is just an example email. Okay, so for anyone that's like, oh, some Ben gonna get it, Ben can, but in this particular case, let's just go into an example. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about agents, is that not only can we talk and that we can guide it, it can actually perform real actions in the real world. So I guess before I head into my next thing, is that cool or scary? Because I think we get mixed responses around how people find that. But I'd love to hear from the room if you found that cool or scary.
We are both cool, scary as for me. So the voice was, I'm not sure if it is Lindsay Tate, but it was a voice that was available for purchase. Ty, do you want to talk about the whakapapa behind that?
Yep, so that's really the next piece I'm going to go into quickly. So I'll just share my screen again, and then I'll talk into that. Okay. So we just showed an agent demo, sending an email using voice. So I use these particular two tools. So if you want to check them out, 11 Labs is where you can do voices. So that particular screen you saw was 11 Labs, and then I connected to another tool or platform you can use as N8N, where you can actually create automation and agents. So there's actually a few particular things working together, as well as obviously my Google account to make sure that we can read contacts and send emails. But that's what's happening. Now, to your point around the voice, I don't know if it's Lindsay Tate. Maybe he gave us cloning, but it is a voice that you can select on 11 Labs. You can actually type by country, and people have uploaded their voices on there. So again, it's a question. So these have done it through consent. So they actually got their voices up there. And people always ask, oh, so can you record anyone's? Within 11 Labs, they have a particular thing where you have to read out a sentence. So you can't just like go and download someone's voice. However, there are bad actors out there making tools out there that can do that. Okay, so again, 11 Labs will make sure that whatever voice are on there, they've given consent. The ability to use those voices have been people's, again, approval. But there are tools out there, and you're going to see soon. I'm going to talk into something of why we need to be just vigilant and eyes up around some of the stuff that's available. Okay, so we'll go into the next stuff. So just before we move on, a lot of the stuff that we shared around the AI models is one thing. But a lot of these platforms have grown over time. So you might not be familiar if you've just kind of come into this AI space, but AI is now growing into a space where you can actually use different platforms that use kind of their agentic abilities. I'm going to put it like that. That's an oversimplification, but they've grown. And what that means is that most of the platforms that you're using right now have the ability to use agents. Okay, so they're all tucked in your platform. So OpenAI, they've actually just released in the last 2 weeks a thing called Work. So if you go to your OpenAI, your ChatGPT, you'll see there's a chat and there's a work. Okay, it's using their agentic capabilities in there, but they also have a specific platform called Codex that you can use. Google has anti-gravity, Anthropic has Claude Code, and those are kind of the big tech companies. And then we have some of the open source platforms, one called OpenClaw that you can use. Highly recommend that you do a lot more research and don't even look at this one. This is something that needs a lot of technical help, and there's a lot of things where this can go really wrong, but there are open things that you can do as well. So again, I just want to go back to the start. We showed you open models and closed models, but there's also the same when it comes to the platforms you can use to do some agentic stuff, and there are people that are creating other ones. But really highly caution, don't look at any of them until you really understand what's going on, because there are challenges with using them and not using them right. Okay, but yeah, just wanted to kind of highlight that. But I also want to kind of share some of the stuff that's happening world of agents. Now, I don't know if anyone's familiar with this. Diela, it's in Albania. They've actually appointed an AI minister. Now, again, we're neutral here. Whether right or wrong is not the point of showing this, but people are utilizing, it's not just an AI system. They've appointed I guess an agentic system in my eyes to be a part of cabinet. Now there's a lot of contention, and you can go Google this, but the whole idea was to use it to help with procurement. So again, I'm not going to make any claims around what it is. You can go Google research it, but it shows that people are trying to figure out ways to use this, and whether we should or not is a big question. Okay, so that's really the question we're trying to present, is that there are agents doing different stuff, and some people are using it to be appointed ministers as a particular case. And even other cases, again, there is a proposal from President of Argentina around non-human corporations, around using agents to do a whole fleet of stuff within organizations. Again, I'm not going to make some grand sweeping claim around this. All I'm saying is that there are use cases being used to do things that I think we should be knowing and understanding of, and what does this really mean, and what impacts could this have on our society. That being, what are the impacts AI may have on the roles and the people you serve? Okay, so we are all about making sure that you don't just get what's the good thing and how do we leverage it, but really having an informed or even more perspective to make you make a choice based on knowing a bit more information. Okay, so these are 3 things that we just wanted to share. So the first one was the AI divide. It's really clear from, I guess, ourselves, the second half, the division that's happening in the space, and particularly talking into 3 things. I'll get into them specifically. But just because AI is growing so fast, I'm fortunate that we do this work often, that we have to stay on top of it, but it's growing. And I can't explain that, share that enough, that it's growing. What we learned, especially even in the last 3 months, things are moving so quickly. We believe that, there needs to be done more work around how people can constantly be educated, but also hopefully showing ways in which you don't have to just keep up, just like actually knowing what is the core things that we need to know so we are understanding what's going on. Okay, so I want to go a bit more into what are those three things that we're seeing in terms of divide. So one being capability, so the ability to use the tools itself, and this can go really deep. So what we've only talked about today, everyone, is just kind of the surface and a little bit of the depth that exists there. But in terms of really understanding AI, we're big believers on understanding it from a real big technical depth. So understanding what goes on. Now we understand that that's not everyone's cup of tea. Okay, so we're not trying to encourage everyone to go there because we just know that that's just not possible. However, we do believe if you're someone that's really interested and wants to learn more, encourage you to learn more, encourage you to know where's this data coming from, what is actually machine learning, what is deep learning, because it is a big space and we do need more people, not everyone, but more people understanding this, so more of us can understand this as well. So there's big capability gap growing. There's also the costs. So the reason why we talk about being tool agnostic, Kamilla shared it before, and there was a question around what platform to use. The reason why we share that is because if you're on a particular platform, one day they could raise the price, and we've been seeing this a lot in this AI space, that a platform say, hey, we can charge double. Then if you got all your work on there, your whole organization, you're not at the mercy of whether you stay at that platform because it's got all your data and information and all of that. Okay, so the cost uncertainty that exists because most of it, for most people are using these tech platforms. Again, we're not saying don't use them. It's just how can we be more in control around how we can switch platforms if it makes sense for us, and how does that migration look like? So cost being another thing that we're seeing in terms of AI divide. And another thing is control. We've heard from a lot of you in the comments, and we've talked about it, is around data. Okay, around how do we have control of our data? What does data privacy look like? What does data sovereignty look like? For Māori, there's also the Māori data sovereignty and cope around that. Shout out to Te Manareuranga. They've got awesome pieces around that and how you can do that as well. So what does control of our data look like? Okay, and hopefully us sharing closed models, open models gives you a bigger picture that there's different ways to go about this. Okay, so AI divide being one. The second thing we want to talk into is that around jobs. Okay, I think obviously this is a large conversation in the space. Now, there is not really strong evidence around displacement of jobs. A lot of people's fear around, will this take our jobs? I think there should be always mindful questions around what does this mean for jobs and like the future of jobs. Maybe there is definitely change of what those jobs may be, but what we are seeing evidence is compression. Okay, and what I mean by compression is that instead of 10 people doing the roles of 10, doing the job of 10 people, we're seeing like 3 or 2 doing the role of 10. So the roles are being compressed into 2 or 3. And I can hear some of you too when you guys are writing in your surveys, or sorry, I shouldn't say here, you guys are trying to do a lot with few. So you guys are experiencing it yourself. So we're seeing a lot of compression, especially with using AI and the ability to do more work. So that there is evidence around that. And then also kind of the changing of what the job looks like. So Anthropic have done a research around this. Again, this is just their perspective. We should also take in that they're a big tech company and may have their own reasons to be able to why they did this research. But they've kind of created a research around what can theoretically be done with AI, and what they're also seeing. So the blue is kind of theoretically what they can see can be done, and the red is what they have evidence on. So you can see some of the industries around where AI could potentially have an impact, and then some that aren't. Now people always like to look at this and go, oh look, this my industry ain't there, but this hasn't also taken into consideration of robots and all of that stuff. Okay, so again, do take this with a grain of salt because this is just a tech company doing this research, but again, it's just a helpful image to kind of look at. People are thinking about this and what this may mean. Okay, now the last thing I want to talk into before we head out of here is just kind of with AI and the ability to create not only text, images, video, and audio now, is that there's going to be a lot of misinformation and social manipulation. So for many of us that are probably already on social media, we may already see that. We have a lot of information coming from a lot of places. Not all of it's correct, and there's no correct police unless we're policing it ourselves, right? So with AI, that's just going to grow. And unfortunately, we don't necessarily have policies and things set up ensure that it's done well. And maybe we still have to consider what does that even look like too. Okay, so there's going to be misinformation and social manipulation. And I say this words with, just being careful how I say this, but like on steroids. I think we're going to see a lot more of it, and we have to be a lot more diligent around how we manage that, not just as an organization, but also within our communities as well. Okay, so just want to say we go around different places around the motu to kind of share similar cordial to this and making sure it's tailored to organizations. So these are a few of the people that and groups that we've managed to go around. But yeah, I know we don't have enough time for Q&A, so I apologize for Tyrone talking way too much today, but hopefully you got a lot out of this cordial from us today, and that's pretty much it. And again, if you can, if you're able to, we do have a survey for those that are able to. You can either go to our URL to fill it out, or take a photo of the camera and fill it in there. So yeah, that's us. Thank you very much. Apologies for you staying on. Hopefully it was still valuable, but really appreciate your time. And yeah, I don't know if you want to share anything, Kamilla, as well.
Thank you everyone for your time and for staying on a little bit longer, and for sharing those whakaaro. It was really interesting. Hopefully it was of value to everyone. Ngā mihi atu kia koutou.
Wow, huge thank you to you both. And I think totally okay we went a bit longer. There was just a lot to share, and wow, I've learned quite a few things that I'm going to put into practice, and yeah, I think opens up a lot of questions as well. So I'm not sure about everyone else, but yeah, definitely more research and reading and trying things to go. Just wanted to let everyone know we will send out a few of the links and resources. We have some of our associates have interviewed some community and charity organisations to hear a bit about how they are or aren't using AI. So we'll link those as well. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I'll just close us off with karakia. So yeah. Inoi tātou. Manawa mai te mauri nuku. Manawa mai te mauri rangi. Ko te mauri kai o, he mauri te poa. Ka pakaru mai te pō. Tau mai te mauri. Homi e, hui e, tae ki e.
Yeah.
Thank
Mihi.
you, everybody. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Ka kite.
Thank you everyone. Kia pai te rā.